Waiting for the feed to come up. Test. Okay.
Okay, so are we now live with the public?
Yes, we're now live audio. My apologies, everyone.
Okay, no problem. Where we may need some legal counsel here. Do we know when the audio broke up, and do we need to move back and redo some of the items that were not accessible to the public?
Yeah, Madam Chairwoman, it's our view that since we don't know exactly when the audio went out, my advice would be to just go back to the beginning and do it all over again, as unfortunate as that is, but in an abundance of caution.
Right, and so do we know, what was it not working from the very beginning, or was there a point that it broke up?
I have a feeling it was not working from the beginning. So if we could begin, just to be safe, I'm so sorry.
No problem. Okay, but we're live now. So welcome everybody. It's nice to see everybody. We're going to get right started. We apologize for the technology problems, but out of an abundance of caution, we are going to start our meeting over again. Agenda item number 1, call to order and roll call. 1A, it is 8:16 a.m. on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. I call this meeting of the Independent Redistricting Commission to order. For the record, the Executive Assistant, Valerie Newman, will be taking roll. When your name is called, please indicate you are present. If you're unable to respond verbally, we ask that you please type your name. Val.
Commissioner Lerner.
Present.
Commissioner Meal.
Muted, David.
You're muted.
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
And Chairperson Newberg.
Present.
And for the record, from Snell and Wilmer, we've got Brett Johnson and Eric Spencer. From Ballard Spar, we have Roy Herrera and Jillian Andrews. We also have our Executive Director, Brian Schmidt, and our transcriptionist, Angela Miller.
Thank you, Val. Please note for the minutes that a quorum is present. Agenda item 1B, call for notice. Val, was the notice and agenda for the commission meeting properly posted 48 hours in advance of today's meeting?
Yes, it was.
Madam Chair, if you could just note for the record that Vice Chair Watchman is not present.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Please note for the record, I mentioned this the first time around, but the public didn't have access to this. Thank you, Council. Vice Chair Watchman unfortunately had a responsibility to attend to at the last minute. And so he unfortunately is not going to be with us today. We do have a quorum, and so we'll be able to move forward with our business, and Vice Chair Watchman will have the ability to catch up on the substance of our agenda today. Okay, thank you. And so did we move through B? Val, did we say the notice and agenda of the commission was properly posted 48 hours, correct? Okay.
Yes.
With that, we'll move to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes from May 11th, 2021. We have a general session, and B, 2 executive session minutes. I'd like to just thank my fellow commissioners for their attentiveness in providing the edits, reading them carefully in advance. And with that, after we've all had the opportunity to submit edits and see a final copy, I'll entertain a motion to approve the general session and executive session minutes from May 11th.
Commissioner Meal, I move to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Lerner seconds.
Any further discussion? Okay, a vote. Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York,
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, the minutes are approved 4-0. I'm getting deja vu. Agenda item number 3, opportunity for public comments. Public comment will open for a minimum of 30 minutes and remain open until the adjournment of the meeting. Comments will only be accepted electronically in writing on the link provided in the notice and agenda for this public meeting and will be limited to 3,000 characters. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, we'll move to item 4, discussion on public comments received prior to today's May 18th meeting. With that, I'll open it up to my colleagues for their thoughts.
So this is Commissioner Lerner. I just wanted to thank everybody again for their comments and let you know that we do understand your frustration about executive sessions. We hope these will occur less as we move forward, but for right now, these are something that we need to do as we're still organizing and getting familiar with things. But hopefully over time, we'll see fewer of those. But just want you to know we understand your frustration. Thank you.
And I'd like to reiterate Commissioner Lerner's perspective and just share that, you know, I earlier, just to repeat myself, you know, I threw our legal counsel under the bus, but the good news is that it's unanimous, not only amongst the you know, different firms, but amongst us commissioners, that we're doing our due diligence. And if we didn't follow legal advice to do this kind of you know, legal work, we would be failing to meet our obligations to the state, protect ourselves as much as we can against litigation. We'd like to be able to cross the finish line and produce, you know, the legitimate, fair maps. And so I think we're following very, very sound advice. The other thing I just like to emphasize is how excited I personally am to move now into this next phase of learning about our state, learning, you know, so many of us focused on communities of interest in our interview process. And it's something that I think we all really want to understand and learn about. And so I look forward to hopping into public comments that are helping us understand who you are, where you live, how it fits in the constitutional criteria. And I think it's just a very exciting stage for our community. Unless there's any other spontaneous thoughts, we'll move to agenda item number 5, which is the Executive Director's Report and discussion thereof. Director Schmidt, take 5 away, and I'll be on top for number 6 shortly after.
All right, thank you, Chairwoman. So last week, Valerie and I had some initial training for the website. We've been working on some updates and chipping away where we can. We moved the Contact Us page to the main menu, so it's easier to find for the public. We're adding a newsletter link, so if people would like to sign up for a newsletter in the future, they'll be able to do that. Again, if there's other elements that they'd like to see on the website, you can go to the Contact Us page or comment in the public comment section. We also added a newsroom feature. So there it has the link to the RFP award and also the differential data presentation that we had a couple weeks ago. In regards to the mapping consultant, the award was posted on Friday on ADOA's procurement portal. So we're able to start meeting with the mapping consultant and having an initial meeting, and then hopefully they can do a presentation for the public next week, or at least do an introduction. In regards to hiring, we still don't have approval for the additional hires yet, but as soon as we do, I'll post the 3 positions that were already approved. One area where I do think I need approval from the commission is in regards to the IT system. I know that we discussed it before, but before ordering anything or moving forward, I wanted to make sure that you all were comfortable in the direction that we were going.
Brian,
could
you elaborate on that? IT,
Sure.
please.
So, consulting with council and we're looking into purchasing new computers and moving over to Office off of Google. So I have a couple quotes for the hardware. We're still waiting final piece, but I should have that. We have a meeting Thursday, so hopefully we can get that all figured out by then.
And Brian, what kind of a budget will you need for that?
The hardware is for a set, they set up for 10 users. I don't know if you all are comfortable with the current laptops or if you would like newer ones. For the hardware, it's about $25,000 for 10 users.
And for the software?
So they're still working that out. I think it's going to be ballpark $200 a user per year.
I guess, Brian, from my perspective, once you get this kind of formalized, if you could just come back with exactly what you need, that would be helpful for us to be able to give approval.
Absolutely.
But I think conceptually, if there's any feedback that you'd like to offer now, I think that would be helpful.
Personally, my feeling is whatever we need to do to make everything work is the way we should go. So I'm comfortable with whatever changes you need, that you feel we need. I just would like to see sort of a specific proposal of this is exactly what I need. But I'm comfortable with making that transition since that's what you feel is going to be necessary.
You know, our IT needs are you know, paramount. So I thank you for looking into this, and anything we can do to secure our methods of communication and all of it is very important. Anything else, Brian, on agenda item number 5?
That is all I have on my end.
Okay, commissioners. If there's no other questions, we'll move into agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action on community outreach coordinator and other potential hires and duties of all IRC staff positions. Director Schmidt, you're up again.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So on this item, again, we're still in a holding pattern, trying to get the approval for the increase in FTE authority. As soon as I have that, I will post 3 positions that you all have already approved.
Okay.
And Brian, is that approval imminent? Is there anything you need help from us on?
I believe it's imminent. I don't know if it's going to be wrapped into the budget, but I do believe we should have it soon.
Yeah,
Brian, if you could let us,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you can just let us know once you do post those, that would be
Sure.
great. Because it may happen in between meetings. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate the questions because it actually dawned on me this morning, you know, it's May 18th. and just because there's census delays, we have a lot of work to do. And particularly the essence of what the public comments are, which is, wanting us to understand who everybody is, it requires a fully staffed team to get on the road. And so personally, I'm actually feeling a sense of urgency right now. So I appreciate these questions, and whatever we can do to expedite the process, I think would, serve all of our interests. Okay, if no other discussion, we'll move to agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on legal counsel briefing. Public records compliance. There's initial guidance. I do want to ask a question of our legal counsel, because the next 2 agenda items, agenda item number 8, which is discussion and possible action on census data and delay and ways to mitigate its disruption. There's going to be an element of executive session in both. And, the rationale is similar, and I can explain it to the public, but would it make sense to take those 2 agenda items together, give a synopsis to the public of what we're doing, then go into executive session and then come back? Alternatively, if it's cleaner and neater to just take them separately, I will follow your advice.
Madam Chair, given that, at least in our view, on agenda item number 8, it's unlikely we would go into executive session unless the commissioners had specific questions. I think the information we provide under 8 would be appropriate for a meeting. So I would suggest we just go into executive session for agenda item number 7.
Okay, you got it. So agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on legal counsel briefing. Is there anything, counsel, that you'd like to share before I entertain a motion to go into executive session in order to receive this briefing?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice to further implement and/or advance these legal issues pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3.
This is Commissioner Meal. I move we go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner York, seconds.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York,
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. With that, 4-0 vote, we'll move into executive session. Joining the commissioners will be Val, our executive director, Angela, the Ballard, Spar, and Snell and Wilmer team. And I believe that is it. With that, I will see you all in executive session. Please exit out of this current link. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to reconvene to the public session. I think we have our commissioners as well as our legal counsel, our executive director, and Angela, our transcriptionist. So with that, thank you for your patience with the public for agenda item number 7. We had a very thorough presentation from our legal counsel. Thank you so much on public records. I know it's frustrating when we do some of this training in executive session, but I think it's just important to highlight that one of the greatest values of doing this in executive session is that with the complex issues of public records, the commissioners have an opportunity to ask personal questions to make sure that we're abiding by the letter of the law in a way that is comfortable to really ensure, again, the integrity of the process. And so I know it's frustrating for the public, but I think it's something that is essential for us. And with that, the majority of what we discussed, meaning the presentation from our counsel, will eventually be made public. We'll either post it on our website or provide it in some manner such that everybody is aware of the training we received on the importance of preserving public record and being prepared to share those public records with the public if necessary. And unless there's any other conversation, we'll now move to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on census data and delay and ways to mitigate its disruption. Agenda item A, potential invitation to Census Bureau and State Demographer to provide presentation. With that, I will turn it over to our legal counsel to share what is on your mind.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I think, on this agenda item, we would just report that we have made a request and given an invitation to both the Census Bureau and the State Demographer to give presentations before the Commission in public session. Specifically at the Census Bureau, we've asked that their Chief of Redistricting, as well as their Senior Advisor for Data Access and Privacy, come and present to the Commission. That is something that they have done by anticipate we'll be able to schedule that hopefully sometime in the next few weeks. And Brett, I don't know if you want to touch on the State Demographer.
Yes, Brian and I have both been in touch with the Arizona Commerce Authority who houses the State Demographer. We've answered some initial questions as to kind of expectations for the presentation, looking back 10 years and then looking forward for 10 years, and some other information that would help with communities of interest as referenced by the chairwoman. So that request is in the works, and there's some good dialogue with the Commerce Authority, and hopefully we'll have a better response and even a timeline of a presentation next week.
This is Commissioner Lerner. When they present, would it be possible for them to do a little bit of a compare contrast on their data? What are some of the differences that exist between the types of data that the census has and the demographer has, just as part of their overall presentation? I think it would be helpful for us to understand that, so we're clear as we're looking at data.
Yeah, and Commissioner Lerner, you read my mind. So the Census Bureau, and I'll defer to Roy, but the Census Bureau is going to be stuck with Census Bureau data. That's just they have their box, and they usually stay within it. Although they'll probably obviously bring the academic aspect to it as to how that data is analyzed. In regard to the State Demographer, actually for the first part of the presentation, that's exactly what we asked for is that what data does a demographer utilize? Why do they use that type of data? And then how it can also be used going forward. Off the top of my head, I know it's used for purposes of building freeways, right? You don't build a freeway out in the middle of nowhere, maybe in Alaska, but you build a freeway out in the middle of nowhere, but you ensure that the people are going to be growing towards it. So, but you read our mind, and hopefully they give you that kind of background in the front end. Census Bureau, I mean, it's likely that the Census Bureau presentation is going to be a bit more standardized since they are, dealing with sort of the national perspective, and they've already been given, as I mentioned, presentations to others, and so the presentation they've been given is actually available online. I think it's pretty standard, but nevertheless, I think the commissioners will be free to ask questions, and to the extent that are Arizona specific, and to the extent that the Census Bureau representatives know, hopefully they can answer those.
Yeah, I personally, I find that exactly what is exciting for me is the opportunity to ask questions, because, everybody in our community who's following this process has genuine questions about the data that's coming out, and it's not partisan. It just truly, an academic, desire to understand what data is going to be provided to us. So I'm really excited to hear what they have to share, and for us to be able to ask our Arizona specific questions about how their data is going to, help us figure out our communities here. So I'm excited by this.
I have a question. This is Commissioner Meal. There were some actions brought by some other states against the Census Bureau. Is there any update on any of that?
Turn that over to Eric again.
Yeah, Commissioner Meal, there's been no decision reached in the Alabama case yet, but there was a Sixth Circuit oral argument on the Ohio case. Just by way of background, the Ohio case merely involved the delay in the census data. It did not relate to the use of differential privacy information. I listened to that oral argument last week, and I think Ohio is going to get crushed. They just don't have a good idea about what they want from the Census Bureau, and what they want is impossible to grant them. The Census Bureau is not going to speed up and give information faster than August 16th. So my prediction is the Sixth Circuit will wonder why they are there. But the Alabama case is more important, and that decision is yet to be rendered.
And to our friends in Ohio who are watching, that's Eric's personal opinion as to what the court may or may not do. I'll co-sign with that opinion.
Giving it to you straight. And let me add a bit why I think that the Ohio filed that lawsuit prior to the Census Bureau moving up and compromising from its original official September 30th data delivery date, and then it subsequently agreed to give the legacy data by August 16th. So most of the questions from the judges on the Sixth Circuit were, hey, Ohio, now that Census Bureau has moved up by 6 weeks, doesn't that allay your concerns? And the Ohio lawyers said, yes, it does. And so the circuit court said, well, okay, why are we here? And the Ohio attorney basically said, well, we want you to enter a court order that forces the Census Bureau to deliver the legacy data on August 16th in the way that they promised. So I sense some skepticism from the judges about why it was necessary to enter a court order to formalize something the Census Bureau has already agreed to do by August 16th. So that's the reason for my skepticism about how that case is going to turn out. But at the end, the attorney conceded so much that there's only really a sliver left of that case that's relevant. Again, Eric's personal opinion.
Informative. And anything else from either our council or commissioners on the census data delay? I look forward to the academic presentation and conversation. It's complicated, and we'll do our best to do right for the state. With that, we'll move to agenda item number 9, which is discussion of future agenda item requests. I heard Director Schmidt talk about the likelihood next week, which I'm sure our community would love, which is some kind of presentation from our new mapping consultant team. In addition to that, is there anything else that my fellow commissioners would like to recommend that we bring up next week? Okay, with that, we'll move to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action on the scheduling of future meetings. We are slated as usual every Tuesday, the 25th next week. Vice Chair Watchman is not here. We can check in with him on his schedule, but I'm not aware of any hard stops by any fellow commissioners over the next, I'd say, several weeks, 3 weeks, if we would go that far.
Chair Newberg, I was wondering if we want to consider having our meetings begin at 8 o'clock in the future. I have no hard stops or anything, but just whether that would be something others would like, and it depends on staff. And I know there's many considerations. I understand that, but I wanted to throw it out there as a possibility of an option was that we would begin at 8 instead of at 9 in the future.
I open it up for conversation, and I think you're right. We have a large team, and the question is, how does everybody feel, being prepared and ready to go on a regular basis at that hour? For me, it's not a problem at all.
Is it a hardship on staff to do 8 o'clock versus even an 8:30 start? I have no idea.
Not on my end. I don't know if council.
You're right. Smiling.
Great comment about the U.S. Navy, and but we will be ready to go at 8 o'clock.
Like I find as Arizonans, we tend to get up with the sun anyway, so it's getting up earlier. I know it helps Commissioner Watchman because he's on Navajo time, which is actually Mountain Standard. So that would, our 9 o'clock is his 10 o'clock. So our 8 o'clock would be his 9 o'clock. That would probably help him.
All right, well, it sounds like based on consensus, just get ready for the public and our team that you're on early morning, duty. So I'm comfortable with 8 o'clock. So next week, 8 a.m. And in terms of the, finite time, that's to be determined.
Fantastic.
Okay, so with that, agenda item number 11, which is the next meeting date, it is May 25th, and with a start time at 8 a.m. With that, we'll move to agenda item number 12, closing of public comments. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, we are into agenda item number 13, adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Meal, I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
It's Commissioner York, seconds.
Any discussion? Okay, Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
That's aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. And with that, we say we missed you, Vice Chair Watchman. We will adjourn, and I look forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday, the 25th at 8 a.m. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.